Enlightening. Inspirational. Powerfully refining. And unapologetically controversial. Conversations with the Royal Empress. The entire world knows the secret of who you are. Now is the time to step into your queendom and become the Royal Empress that you're meant to be. One woman at a time. Conversations with the Royal Empress. Now Akila, she's the analytical Empress. Akima, she's the Empress that will challenge you. Now, straighten up your crown and be elevated through conversations. Conversations with the Royal Empress.
Welcome to Conversations with the Royal Empress. This episode, we are exploring how to build love legacies. Joining me is my co-host, Dr. Hakima. Hey, sis.
Peace and blessings.
And we have invited two spectacular guests to join us for this discussion. We have love strategist, Dr. Doula, and Coach Green, also known as Andrea and Eugene Mason, our married couple who just celebrated their 27th wedding anniversary.
Hey, congratulations. What?
I am going to read a brief bio on Eugene Mason III, MBA, the builder and coach, and Andrea Little Mason, EDD. So we got some educated folks in the house. The educator and birth ambassador are relationship strategists who have spent almost 27 years. Well, they've spent 27 years in friendship, love, relationship, and partnership, known by their audiences as Coach Green Jean and Dr. Doula. They have traveled internationally to speak and collaborate on various topics surrounding Indigenous knowledge systems. They promote the head, heart, hands principle, which reminds people that as a community, we have the ability to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, shelter ourselves, heal ourselves, and protect ourselves, and to save ourselves. So I'm going to let them tell us more.
Wow, where do we start? Just to make it brief, it's 27 years, four boys.
They're not boys now, yeah, 26, 24, 19, 17.
And where our passion says is assisting individuals with providing them with tools and education on how to build legacy. We hear a lot about building wealth. There's nothing wrong with wealth, but we think that the wealth is a byproduct of knowing what it takes to build a successful legacy. And I think that's what we should be concentrating on. So that's our heart, that's our mission. We do that through our business of We Build Legacy, where we provide, again, the education and the tools through birth readings, Reiki appointments, and various tools to assist people to heal, to be able to find out how they were made into the world to be an answer as individuals and couples together.
Absolutely. Ditto what he said. Yeah, I'm really looking to work with just the whole person. A lot of times we compartmentalize, which is a very Western thing to do. This over here is my religion, and this over here is my money, and this over here is my this and that. But when we go back and we look at how our ancestors were able to be successful, and I do mean before the colonization and all of those things.
So you're coming from an indigenous perspective.
Right. There was more of a holistic approach to the way that we saw ourselves and the way we approached what we did. We were looking at the whole thing. So you don't just go and, earn your money without thinking about those you're going to leave it to. How the children that I'm having, how are they equipped to be able to do with this thing that we're building? Did we leave them on the wayside? Some people are willing to sacrifice everything for just the money, because that's the big thing. That's wealth, but it's only one piece of wealth, and you'll see it's begin to fall once you start looking at, okay, I'm leaving it for my kids, and then you see the people say, that boy that blew all the money, that his mom and daddy worked so hard for that, and he done went up there to them folks and went on a vacation, bought a house, hit bankruptcy, they done put him out the house, now he down there living with his sister, stuff like that.
That skit was pretty, where'd you get that from? That was pretty good. I guess we can unpack a little bit more of that later. We can keep on going with that.
But one of the things that I know that you guys do is you actually work with couples about our relationships. And so let's just go into it. Relationships in the Black community, what's really going on?
When it comes to that, this is what I based all a decade or whatever ago, all my research on, really looking and asking that question, what's going on? And one of the things that I found, I always tell people, I looked at the time, it was back in, 2010-ish, right before then. And they were talking about how, everybody had a relationship education, something, every church, every whatever, all the different religion, this, that, the other. Everybody was looking at the Black community. How can we do whatever? The government had money, $10 million or something out there. And the bottom line was, I was looking and I said, well, let me study. I'm going to study these different curricula that they're teaching. And they had a bunch of, majority culture ones, but they had 3 particular ones that they were being promoted in Black communities. And they had the Black people presenting it like we would, When I did my content analysis on it, what I found was, everybody had their thing, but there was one statement that just kept throwing me off. I said, where y'all getting that from? And all 3, this is the one thread that they had in common. And it was this statement that each one of them made. They said there was a time when women stayed home and did not have to work. Follow me now. There was a time when the man did everything and whatever, and the woman only took care of the home. Now that's true for some people, especially majority culture, and it's even true for some people of African descent in this country. But that is not our story. Our story is not one of that, but they continue to tell us, listen, you need to make sure that the biggest thing you're doing is, of course, it was the submitting and this and that, because everything is out of whack. You aren't even supposed to be working. It was like they were telling us, it's like they put blackface on this white message. Maybe in your majority culture, you arranged it so that the man could make the predominant money or whatever, but that's not our history. You can go back and see that at any given point in time, even after slavery, at minimum 50% of Black women were working outside the home in some capacity. Now that's the baseline. So if that's the case, then why are you feeding this to us and telling us that our hope is to follow this pattern? Because basically what they were doing, they were coming from this place that we all come from. Listen, men used to do this. Now, I'm not talking about before we got here and, whatever. They're talking about in this country, like, this is what you should be trying to conform to. When the truth of the matter is that is not our story. So then you get women that find themselves with these pipe dreams, waiting for this man to do whatever, not remembering all the efforts of disenfranchisement and all of that. Even the whole education context. White women were not educated. I remember the first time I heard a white woman tell me, I was like, I have my doctorate and whatever. She said, I just focused on I didn't focus on a PhD or anything like that. I just focused on my MRS. I was so confused. I didn't know what that meant. But the truth, go back and look historically for them, most of them and their storyline, they were becoming educated until they would leave school to go get that MRS. Black women's story was different because this was our way of doing. The man might work in a factory, the woman might
it might be going to school because that's where we saw our way. So the general answer, the overarching thing, we are following someone else's pattern. When we go back and look at our ancestry, yes, you're going to find patriarchal setups, okay? There are going to be cultures all over the continent that have patriarchal setups, but there are also matriarchal setups, okay? And there are also co-regents and all kinds of things. But what we have done is try to come and play their game in their territory, but all of they, you know, sitting us behind the 8 ball and everything else, and say, okay, now go. When if we look at ourselves and stop setting up as the standard and go look at ourselves, we can begin to build in the way we need to. That's the short, long answer.
I agree with you. What you sound like you describing is we bought into that feminist, the white feminist mindset where we competing with our men. And that's not, like you said, that's not even us. Girl, teach. Go ahead, teach it. I mean, that's not us.
That is a deficit model. You lose before you begin because you're not following within your truth. And so all the way through, you're working from a cognitive dissonance because you're doing something that is not really true to your heart. Actually, it is a reality for you. And so therefore, you're building your foundation or your legacy on something that's not really you. And then you continue to count on the hurt, pain, the anguish, and then you get what we get today. A lot of communities trying to build legacy on broken, let's not say broken, but just dysfunction, or we can do better if we come from our truth. Let's just put it like that. So it was amazing research she did and things she found out. So great.
Yeah, I think that I was just thinking about how some of us are searching for what our truth really is and what our legacy, like we really don't know. And that's why when I hear men say, well, back in Africa, we did this, or we used to do this. And it's like, but you're not even culturally there. So why are you trying to reinvent something that you really don't know about, that you really haven't studied it enough to just, say, well, we were this and we were that, and the woman did this and the man, and, we had this many wives and we did this and we did.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to go down that road a little bit. I can just share my perspective. I think, a lot of what we deal with in culture today is because of where we've come from and where we're headed. We're predominantly in a masculine-driven, individualized, power-driven culture led by white men.
Ooh,
and everything is based off of fear and scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that paradigm right there, it's difficult to build legacy because unfortunately, all of us come from that perspective and paradigm. And so we build our worldview behind that. So even when we look at African culture, we begin to dissect it in silos. The indigenous perspectives both take into account the feminine and masculine energies. And when you do that, you begin to integrate the systems of the human body. And so when we talk about the human is more than just the physical and the mental, right? Mm-hmm. The human is also the emotional and the spiritual. Mm-hmm. But what have we pegged in Western culture today? Oh man, you're being too emotional. When emotional, where the waters run deep from the feminine energy perspective, is a valid and very important part when you're talking about male and female and the roles that we integrate to build this partnership or legacy we're trying to build. So we segregate or put into silos these particular quadrants, and we break them down to hurt us when we actually need to include spirituality and the emotional content that we deal with. And because we divide them divide them up, we don't know how to effectively introduce them back into our daily lives so that they will be helpful. And so therefore we terminate you being too emotional. Oh, that's spiritual. You know, we've taken spirituality out of everything and we've turned it over to the hands of religion when actually we're spiritual beings first. Energy can't be constructed or destroyed. Energy is just there. Energy can be transformed. Energy can be transmuted. It can be transferred. You know, but it is and will always be. And we need to introduce those sacred and indigenous teachings back into culture in a way that doesn't do away with the innovative discoveries that our ancestors have brought into the forefront. See, when you think about indigenous societies, you think about things that are way back in the past, but indigenous has more to deal with innovation and technology than ever before. I mean, we're still trying to figure out how they put the pyramids together. How that
right.
But
I don't believe aliens did it.
Yeah, our go-to is that aliens did it. When we don't, you know, so yeah, we have some going back to do to recalibrate how we see things.
And can I say this really quickly? I want to make sure y'all can hear me. If we would start from, you know, you're right, like what you said, you know, it's like, hey, you know, back in Africa, and we, you know, first of all, we make it like we're a monolith, like we were all the same. You can go over there right now. I remember the first time that I learned that, you know, I'd always seen Nigeria is, so I had seen the Christian portion. I was like, what you mean 50% of them are Muslim? I didn't know that. I had no idea. So it's like we're making people a monolith based on what they've allowed us to see. But if you want to go back and start with what is in any context of the matter, and from an indigenous perspective, the first thing you can see between man and woman that we can start with today is complementary. We complement each other. That means that you might be in this climate and a man might need to do this, and this. But over here in this domain, in this topographical area, the woman does this, and this. You have cultures. I was talking to her, she said, oh no, in Kenya, the whatever tribe, no, the women, part of they get married, they build a hut. Huh? They build a house.
I ain't building no house. I'm telling you that right now.
But wait, we want to talk about what they did in Africa.
Exactly.
We can't say this because we know we're gonna have brothers saying, well, shoot, you need to take out the garbage there. See, you need to fix all the car.
That's the point. The point is coming from this very, like, this is what women did and women do, and this is how men are supposed to be and not. No, the goal was complementing each other.
Exactly.
And if we started that place, even though we're here and we're not, you know, we've been so far removed from so many cultural things, when we start thinking about the complement and understanding that when you're talking about relationships, one of the biggest challenges you can find is thinking that you're going to be the same thing to that person that you were 27 years ago.
Right.
Since how many years y'all been married? Dr. Kim, how long y'all been married?
Yeah, in July, it'll be 25 years.
Exactly. You're going to tell me in 25 years, you the same chick.
Oh.
You the same one.
We were just talking about that on how we're so different than right. You're right.
Different. So let me just finish this one thing. This is my point. You know, we focus on these, you know, this one moment in time, like this is what I need in a woman. You don't even know what you need in a woman yet. You barely know what you need in a man. There are qualities you need in a person because that's going to change. When I married him, we got married on my graduation day. I was 21 and had no kids. I didn't know what I would need. 21, listen, let me explain something. I know a whole lot more about myself than I did at 21. And you need somebody who can grow with you because it's going to take a lot of adjusting. I wake up some days, I need you to know I'm different. I'm different. I'm different. And he be looking at me, I did it today, and he was like, oh.
just started working and cleaning up the house. He was like, you know what? All right, what you need? Just tell me what you need.
He said he ain't fooling with you today.
So check it out. Just to dab into it a little bit, the revelation ain't me accepting she has this, she's got these changes going on. The revelation or the goal is that she has discovered that a change is going on, and she's willing to say, hold on, something in me is changing. I need to listen, and then, here, I come along instead of stifling that. I'm like, well, let's listen. How do we work with this? Are we able to grow big and grow small with each other as we go through these different changes? So that's just a lead into what we term power couples.
Yeah.
Okay, you done went to power couples.
Yeah, so power couples can sometimes get miscued, right? Because we think of and Beyonce. They are a power couple. They got it going on. They hitting it and quitting it. But the thing is that, you have to be careful with that definition because everybody is not hitting it and quitting it like Jay-Z and Beyonce. Some people are willing to, let's say, do things a little bit differently. And so we define power couples are individuals within their own right who are able to move forward with a vision and a plan, but then able to come together and design and build and develop something together that you couldn't do apart. That
was powerful right there.
I really don't.
Keep the space.
Look.
Yeah,
So what?
you
what's your
sound like
facial
that sounds like some legacy building to me. That's what it sounds like.
That's what it is.
So how do we build some legacy? That's what teach me.
Okay, so here it is, sis. The beautiful thing that we love to share when it comes to legacy is that number one, it's no golden bullet. See, that's the problem that we face today with globalization and the Western mindset, that we think that it's one way to cut down to the chase and get this thing done. We're human, and being human breaks you down to so many different dimensions. So what may work for me, like Andrea was saying over here, may not work for you over there. But then when we come together in this other atmosphere or environment or ecosystem, we'll have to bring that together and change it up and find out how we integrate. And so what we discovered over the years of our marriage and talking to hundreds of couples is that we feel that there's 4 principles that you can introduce as tools into your partnership that will assist you on navigating the ups and downs in a way to help you get from point A to point B to Z and fulfill that legacy. Because you're gonna have frequency, right? Life is all about energy, but it's about the perspective and perceptions you have about how you're dealing and how you go through it, And so those 4 principles are number 1.
You gotta think, right? You have to think about them like you're building a building. You gotta think about it like that, okay? Of course, we have abstract architecture, correct? But the basic premise of any building, if you look at the room you're in, is 4 walls, 4 corners, 4 pillars to bring about stability. And we talk with them. It's really in any partnership.
That's a recreational partnership.
Yeah.
A business partnership.
Any of them.
A love partnership.
Romantic
partnership. Any type of partnership is going to take.
And we think that
pillars.
power couples have the potential to be all of that, which is why we talk about it in that way, a partnership, and not just the like, ooh, I love him, I love him, I love him.
That's right.
So the first thing, you want to do it or you want me to do it?
You do it.
It's partnership, that word, a decision to partner. Now, that is, you have a lot of people out here and they have not yet defined what they are. Okay? So I hang out with you, we together all the time. I come see you every Thursday at 7. I brought you this special drink for your job. But when you start saying, well, what are we? Let's just let it be, let's be. Let's not make it something else. Okay, if you haven't made a decision to partner, then
that literally means that person can change that in one moment. And all of that y'all do all the time means what? Nothing. Nothing. It means absolutely.
If it's not intentional.
That's the one. You better say it, boy. Okay.
Number two.
Number two.
One of my favorites.
This is one of his favorites. Mutual respect. This
If it's good for the goose, it most definitely gotta be
Ooh,
good.
teach.
Mutual respect.
I'm big on this one because one of the ways that we have lasted is we don't play now. I mean, we don't acknowledge differences physiologically in women and men. But we don't play these gender games. Okay. My husband told a story once. He said some years ago, he was like, I was downtown looking at your towers, and he was like, I could be up in that tower right there with another woman, my wife. And he said, the next thought came to him was, but she could be over in that other tower right there with another. And you wouldn't know.
See, that's how that works, right?
Listen, you know, I'm not taking away from the differences between us, but some of these things that we allow, and I'll just be honest, it's like, even when we talk about like physically, like what, you know, a man got needs. Listen, and I'm gonna keep it PG, but I have to say this. If we're gonna do it for real.
Hey, I love it when you say that.
Repeat that.
Physiologically, if we're gonna talk about, you know, men, you just gotta understand men got needs. You know, actually, I'll just say it this way. Physically, women have more opportunities to enjoy herself sexually more frequently than a man does. Okay, well,
all them snaps and some.
While you going through your refractory period and you building up, I don't care if it take you 10, 20, or hours. Women say, okay, you got me like this, and you try it like that, and then we can do this. So technically, if we wanted to, we could say, technically, we could say that that the woman has needs. Could we not? Could we not? So when we put a mutual respect, we take all that, you know, look, you just got to deal with a man, see. We just level that out, because some of that has been built on a whole lot of perversion, a whole lot of other things, a whole lot of things that are not, literally not based in truth. So that's mutual respect, and not just sexually, but I just like to mention that part. That goes across the gamut. Okay, number three. Agreement. This mine. What do you agree to? You'll say, oh, he was doing this, and he explained it to me, or she said it was like this. Okay, but then what was your agreement? Now, remember, this is about partnership, about how we can build legacy. These 4 pillars being a foundation, right? We got to have a strong foundation. So when we're talking about what is our agreement, not just do I understand, like, for example, me, you know, people always say women need, you know, men need time to think. No, I'm the one. He ready to talk all the time. I'm the one that needed, like, give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I want to talk right now, you know? But he had to say, okay, I gave you a minute now when you're coming back. And I had to go back and say, okay, just if you give me this, whatever, I'll come back and talk. So all of these, you know, once again, you going based on this, what a man need. Exactly. You don't know, what does he need? See, just because you understand what that man needs and that man needs, don't mean you know what this one needs. This is the one I have to focus on. I don't have time to be focusing on what every man needs, because he's unique and different. Okay, so agreement, what did we agree to? The agreement that he and I have might not work for you. But guess what? It don't even matter, because it's not your agreement. You go make your agreement with your person. We got one that works for us. We go back for the 4th, because the 4th pillar is accountability. if I'm not keeping my word
Come on.
and what I agreed to and what he agreed to, it gives me a place to say, we need to talk. We agreed to.
See, that last one, number 4, is what I'm saying. Because it's like, what did you say or what did you promise? See, we should be people of being able to show people better than what we tell them. And if I said that I was going to do something, I just talked to my son the other day. We said that we were going to do this, then as examples in the community, we need to follow through or make a call and said, hey, I'm not able. Accountability.
Partnership, mutual respect, agreement, and accountability as the pillar, the foundation, even as our children grow, introducing that to them. You know, this is what we're doing. This is we're all in this together. This is our team effort. We are respecting you. We're showing you respect. We are agreeing to do this thing, and then we will be accountable for what we said we will do. If we begin to incorporate that, starting with the family as the first organization, because it is, the family is.
Yeah.
Okay? Starting with that, then we can begin to see the ripple effect. People, not men and just women or whatever, people that keep their word, people that know what it means it's not just about me, it's about our partnership, what I agreed to do, how to respect you. Not, I don't have to respect you, I'm a man, you know, I'm a man and a man need this, and a man and a man and a man. Yes, perhaps you fit that, that particular stereotype. Perhaps you do, but everyone does not. You know, we deal in energy work and astrology and everything. The biggest thing is understanding our differences and respecting them.
Which is the beautiful thing, because to tie that all into a bow, through Dr. Andrea's research, he recognized that we were being tripped up by trying to identify with one stereotype of couple. So within our research and with the couples that we see, we have designed archetypes for particular couples.
Since people want to identify.
And there are three, you know, there are the 3 basic archetypes for couples. We deal with the alliance couple, the crown couple, and the, help me out.
The crown. The
alliance,
crown. Sorry, the crown.
All right, the crown.
The crown is the traditional one. That's the one that says, look, a man do this, a woman do this. You agree to it. Hey, what do we say? You partnered that way. You say, hey, I'm the woman, I'm gonna stay at home, I'm gonna take care of the kids, I'm gonna make your food, sure food is done, clean, whatever. I'm gonna do everything in here. You say, okay, cool, I'm the man, I'm gonna be outside, I'm gonna be working, I'm gonna take care of all the money stuff, I'm gonna take care of the business, whatever. If that's your partnership,
that's your agreement.
That's you respect each other's roles, that's your agreement, and you're gonna be accountable to do it, boom. You can be a power couple, you can make that work. Somebody else might look and say, girl, you cook for him every night, stay out of their business. That's their agreement, okay? They're keeping their agreement, that's their partnership. You might have, I always go to the other one next. I go to the last one, the alliance couple. That's the one that Black people often say but I'm gonna tell you a minute why it doesn't happen. The alliance couple is basically like when you literally are saying, these are my strengths and my limitations. And this person says, these are my strengths and my limitations. You act like it's a real business partnership. Like you're really trying to build something. And you say, okay, listen, I'm real good at money or whatever, but I ain't good at the people part. So if you can take care of the people, talking to the people and whatever, you say, okay, I got that. Books and accounting, that's me. And then they like, okay, so you take that part, I take that. They literally are like, we are building it. This is not about what the man's supposed to do with a woman. This is literally about us combining our strengths to mitigate our limitations so people can't even see where we broke and can't fit right. Okay, that's the alliance couple.
Now, this is my favorite one.
Now here's where most Black people are. We want to say we're alliance couples. I'm bringing my strengths together. Blah, 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 blah. This is where we get tripped up. Is what we call the crown couple, and it's a hybrid of the two.
So you can't call the first one the crown.
First one, oh, classic. I'm sorry. First one is classic. Last one is alliance. The middle one is crown. Thank you, Betty. And we call it the crown for a reason. And there's no judgment here, but this is the truth. You know, you so often it's kind of like when you remember the show Everybody Hates Chris, and it's like, you know, no matter what, get a man a big piece of chicken, make him feel like a man. Okay. What actually happens often, and this answers some of what's going on in the Black community, is that the efforts are made. There is no judgment on it. The efforts are made to make the man feel like the man no matter what he does. Okay? That means he cannot have a job. That means he cannot do any of the things, take care of any of the business or anything. But no matter what, the crown goes on his head and you still the man. That's not a judgment call, because there have been times in our history where Black men have been postured by society in that way, okay? They wanted to work and couldn't work. They wanted to do whatever and couldn't do. Well, it's shifted now. And what happens, and is happening more and more, is Black women, here we are, we're the most educated group, blah, 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 the whole nine. We sit in this place. We are willing, we want to present ourselves like we're a classic traditional couple, like the man, my man do this, my man do that. What we say, he take care of me, he's do this, that. So what we will do is we will hold up by ourselves all of that to make sure that no matter what, he has a crown on his head. Now that's beautiful when our men are doing all they can. And we've been through situations like that. But
and the funny thing is that we've visited all three.
All of them.
Within this,
we've seen all of it, okay?
Yeah, we've
lived all of it. The biggest challenge is women want something that they're saying they want something. This is the cognitive dissonance. They want this alliance where I'm able to bring my this and that. But that's not what they're doing. What they're doing is they're saying, at least I have a man. And no matter what, I'm gonna hold this down. So that could look like that's
double duty.
Yeah, it literally is. And our bodies pay a toll, because you can go and you can look at us having the highest rates of heart disease and all these things that happen with Black women, because it's not like then this is the last point. It's not like I'm gonna go to work, not a problem, go to work. But I'll go to work, I will work all day, I will pick the kids up, I will come home. Let's just pretend like he ain't working right now. The house ain't clean. I gotta clean because that's my job. That's a woman's job. That's what I say, right? That's a woman's job to clean our house. But he been there all day. The food ain't, the meat, if you eat meat, it ain't even thawed out. You got the meat ain't in the, okay? The kids, he didn't pick up the kids for you, so you had to pick up the kids. You're gonna clean the kids up. You're gonna make sure everything's done and whatever. And you by yourself are willing to hold this thing down. You're gonna hold this down so that he is wearing a crown. And that's not a problem, except you just need to understand what your agreement is. Your agreement is no matter what he does, I got you. That's all I say.
See, my feedback on that is that's not, you know what that's called? That's called an assault and battery. That's what that's called. Ain't no way I'm gonna do all of that. Come home and be like, I gotta clean the house. Come on, Dad. That's an assault and battery.
One of the greatest misconceptions, or one of the things that we feel that helps, is understanding that one of the most powerful things in the world is an individual within his or her own sovereignty. And so what that means is that if it works for you, then who am I to judge it?
That's right.
And we need to stop trying to curtail people into this globalized system to look like a certain couple. If it's working for them, if they have a partnership where they have mutual respect and agreement and accountability, let them be, because they're going to transition. And that's the thing is that relationships are dynamic. They're not static. And if they're dynamic, like you said, this is not the same woman I married 20 years ago. She's not even the same woman week ago. She's always evolving, just like myself. And so we have to be able to understand that, understand how to navigate the relationship, again, like we're talking about, through the physical, the mental, the emotional, and spiritual. It takes all of that in a way to dynamically live, on earth in harmony, to build legacy. It's so much beyond and wrapped into that, which we share, in our curriculum, but that's more or less the basis.
I have a question.
No, go ahead.
Just in thinking about that, particularly, and no judgment, that's one of my favorite words. And there's no judgment here. But how much of that crown, putting a crown on someone's head, no matter what, right? How much of that is rooted in manipulation?
Manipulation on whose side, the woman or the man?
Well, on either part, but we were talking about the, king me, king me, king me. Right. No matter what I'm doing or not doing.
When you talk about manipulation, it can be to a certain point, but it just depends on where a person's truth is at. See, we talk about unfolding a lot of issues that society has, or that this culture has planted within the Black community, coming from getting something from nothing, having slaves, indentured service to build this nation, and you receive all of the benefit. We're coming from a system like that, and then having to deal with all of the issues to where we're at present day. And if an individual doesn't understand sovereignty, or if an individual doesn't understand what they need, that might be their truth at that particular time. The only thing is that where we come in to help individuals unlock those different scenarios to say, hey, you are an individual before you are a wife. You are an individual before you are a husband. You have to be accountable to yourself first. So let's turn this thing around. If this person worked all day and you were at home, do you think that would be fair for you to come home to something like that? And so then you begin to unpack, those downward spiral type of behaviors, and to allow for that self-discovery to come in such a way where they're both identifying what works for them. And it's a hurtful process, but if you're willing to unpack it together and recognize truth within you both, then there's possibility for you to build legacy. And I think and Dr. Andrea, she brought it out in an extreme case. Yeah. Because we were living a crown couple for years. Mm-hmm. And I have to be honest, because of the paradigm I came from, and you think about religion and where, in the society that, the man and his ego set, unfortunately, and that's even in religion, I'm always asking her at the end of the day, hey, babe, me asking her, am I still the man? Am I the man? I'm the man, right? Like, I mean, we doing this, you got this, you doing this, but I'm the man, right? Where did I get that from? That's and so I had to be willing, we had to be willing, but first me, in my own, and then first her in her own light, to unpack all that stuff. So we had we were doing ourselves in and each other in. So, I'm just thankful for her research. I'm thankful for, my flexibility to be humble, to really come to truth with some things. They were already there. It was just because I was just tired. That's when you get to that place of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yes. Saying, okay, we both got highly educated. We didn't come from there, but we're both educated, and we both have amazing parents. And we're not trying to kill each other. What is the problem? Right. We had this sit down and ask each other them serious truths. You know, like, why do you have, she comes to me, why do you have to come to me? I always ask if you're the man. Are you the man? What makes you the man? And then I'm like, oh yeah. And then we had to really begin to ask questions within ourselves about the power structures that were around us that was setting up these paradigm and perspectives that we had in our
Chief. Yes.
Now, did they serve our highest good?
Right.
And so we started to ask those questions. Now we're asking ourselves some questions. We're asking people in authority, other people who are in leadership, like, hey, why is this happen like this? You know, and now you just stepped over the line because you ain't supposed to be asking them questions because it is what it is, and that's what it's always been. But I know it's always been like that, but it just don't make sense. Why am I asking, if I'm the man, just stuff like that. And so
and quickly on my part, it was, I was homeschooling our kids at the time, and you would think that, he was the one providing, and doing all those things. You would think people would be happy about it because that, oh, wow, most Black women don't get to stay home. That's great. You staying home with your kids. No, you know what they said to me? Why are you being lazy and not helping your husband? What do you mean helping? Did he come and say he needed help? See, these paradigms that keep being pushed on us. So now he's being said to make sure, when I went to get my doctorate, he told me, you gonna let her get a doctorate? He ain't gonna need you then, man. He don't need you at all. And I'm like, are you serious? People are saying this. And it's all of these different voices. So then it became our responsibility to make sure that what we were listening to, wait a minute, listen to me. Does this sound like I need to be listening to it? So there are all these different dynamics of things.
Wow.
All of the wisdom that you share with us, so many people don't get that sitting down with you until their relationship is in trouble.
Exactly.
This is stuff that people need to begin in the beginning. So what are your thoughts on the importance of having, counseling before? Because people act like counseling is just after you get married, but how important is having a relationship counseling prior to being married?
I think, you hit it perfectly, Dr. Hakima, when we had our pre-conversations a little bit earlier as it related to the difference between indigenous knowledge systems and Western knowledge. From an indigenous standpoint, there's nothing wrong with having conversations within community with mama, with auntie, with uncle, and we talk counseling. It never really had
not Kevin Samuels. Okay, go ahead. I'm just saying I had to say that. No knock on brother, but like you said, the grandma. Thank you. I just want to throw it out there.
Exactly. I mean, look what we're getting, where we're getting our information from. Like you said, Dr. Akima, no knocking on anyone, but where an individual and why, like you said earlier, is that individual not dropping his or her pride to go talk to that person that's closest to them, who has been married, for the 10 or 20 years. Why are we not asking them? We're getting so caught up, in the social media and all these different, ideas. So ultimately, at the bottom line is that because relationships are so dynamic, I wouldn't say counseling, but I would say the educational process of understanding how we connect in the world as individuals and as couples, as human beings, is an ongoing process. So if I see a couple and I admire them, then I need to be talking to them before I get into a relationship. Like, there were rites of passage programs that taught you about you, yourself, and your individual. Before you even thought about getting with somebody else, you had to understand the uniqueness about yourself. And that's what I teach with, Coach Green Jean and the 3H pre-apprenticeship program. People say, oh, you're doing a great job. Thanks for giving back to the kids and teaching them construction. Yeah, that's important, but that's far from the fact. It's self-reliance that our young people need. Young men and young women, self-reliance, understanding your superpower, your signature move. You were created to be an answer, and you cannot solve problems if you're outside of yourself, asking other people questions and haven't really understood your strengths and weaknesses. We all have lights and shadows, but that's a process within itself. So you, in your process, in your Rites of Passage program, understanding your lights and shadows and how you fit into the world, and now you are addressing your world perspective and now you have this, that's counseling, that's coaching, that's education. So when it's time to get into relationship, now you have relationship counseling, coaching, and education, and then building legacy. And so it's an ongoing process. It's just that today, we always, just like you said, we get people when it's dire need. And it's like, you know what, we're about to get a divorce, we need counseling. But that's the bad rap that has been put in to society today. We've broken an itemized educational system in these different silos. And so we don't think we need counseling or coaching, and dire need but we need to look at it from an indigenous standpoint and understand that coaching and counseling, education, that's always a part of the process. Go ahead.
I was thinking while he was talking, the whole concept of, being in relationship and things like that. Indigenously, it was, and talking about building legacy, it was about bringing two families together. Now we see that anytime you look at celebrities, you're like, oh yeah, that it's like, oh, that family is joining that family. Oh, they building a dynasty. I don't need to be recognized by the public. But we have 4 sons. We talk to them all the time. Listen, be mindful who you bring up in here now, baby, because we've been working on this thing a long time. Check out what's going on, see what you has to offer, blah, 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 blah. We talk as if we are building a dynasty. We're like the little Mason clan. This is like, we making our mark, because it was always more about joining families. It was never this independent thing where that's my man, I love him, and no matter what you say, I'm gonna be with him. Now, I get it. Let me put this disclaimer out too, because a lot of times people say, yeah, y'all be talking about that indigenous stuff. Well, the world ain't like that no more. Well, we're of the belief that at what point are we gonna start creating what we believe we see? So yes, we understand that some people have had horrible relationships with their mamas and aunties and whatever. Even as a birth, one who's a birth ambassador, I'm still gonna tell you that indigenously and traditionally, your mother was intended to be the one to help you when you had your baby. Now, maybe your mother wasn't that for you, but when you have your daughter, you can be that for them. So what am I saying? I'm saying, listen, I get it. I know it sounds like, oh, great. Well, who am I supposed to talk to in the community? You're talking about the community doing this and the community doing that and talking to auntie. I ain't got nobody. First of all, intention, start acting like you want the God, the universe, source will bring you what you request. Now that's the truth.
Teach, that's true.
Sometimes you want to be around mess. And so like we were talking about earlier, why are you calling in getting somebody who's going to rate you a 4 or 5 or 3? Okay? You in that 4th, and that's what you're getting. But if you call for it, say, I want someone I can talk to about marriage on a more metaphysical, spiritual level, I believe the Creator will bring that to you and you will be able to have that. That's my belief. So this is not pie in the sky. It's really saying, listen, whether you choose a formal counseling or you just choose to look around you like we used to do, where when you had issues, my sister last day in South Africa, she was like, yeah, when we had issues, it's like they called both sides of the family and like, listen, what's going on here? We don't put investment into this. What y'all doing? What's not working right here? Yes. Both sides of the family, not just the one that you like. And, now they like, well, listen. And he said, well, she did. All right, now, well, whatever. And he said, but he didn't tell you he did whatever. They trying to protect. Listen, we talking about just money. Protecting that. Once we get that money and we got that wealth, okay, how are we going to keep it in the family? How are we going to build this thing generationally? So we might not like hooks being in our business,
But
And just on that strength alone, that's why we focus on the physical, the intellectual, the emotional, and the spiritual.
all of it.
Because when your families come together, they're trying to protect those connections, because that's what built culture. That's what built society. And having that and I love the term sovereignty. Having the sovereignty to define, name, to define yourself, to name yourself, to create for yourself, to speak for yourself. That's right. It's so important, because that's when you're dealing with that hierarchy of Maslow's chart, when you're dealing with that self-actualization.
Yes.
It takes work to get there and to maintain that level of knowing. See, now that's a whole nother thing. So what do we encourage? What's our bottom line is we encourage people not to come to us, just to get tools and to get educated. Even before then, we have dynamics to assist individuals to get healed. I think a lot more people, including ourselves, need healing before we try to conquer, this thing of building wealth or building legacy.
Yes.
We need to be healed in our minds so that we have the right perspective and the right perception of how we dial into the world that we're living in. And that's why we're dealing with so many scarcities. There's a scarcity in health. There's a scarcity in education. There's scarcity when you deal with food. There's water scarcity. I mean, we have people in Detroit that can't even drink water from the faucet. There's scarcity all around us because we're dealing with a culture that is fear-based, power-based, individual silos, and we have to come out of that mindset. And it's not difficult, it's right there in front of us. It's just that are we willing to make that effort and the change to reset our paradigms?
Right. I think once we get out of that survival mode, that's why all the principles that you name, that you speak on and teach on, brings people out of that survival mode. And in that survival mode, everything is a scarcity. Everything. It's like that's the European way of thinking. He's in a survival mode, but because he came out the caves, we ain't come out the caves. We're people of the sun. Ain't no scarcity in that. But I just had to say, like, the people we should be looking at or looking to for wisdom and advice is not celebrities. So I really like Kevin Samuels. I really like Beyonce and Jay-Z as a couple. I'm not knocking these people. I just want to shatter this mindset of our people that everyone we need to look to is celebrities. That's all I said.
Nicely said, Dr. Hakima. I love it.
And I like to always point out that we still like each other. At least 355 days a year, we still like
Wait, what about them 10 days? Wait, they did 365 days. Y'all like
Hey, everybody got to have a little downtime.
Yeah, that's true.
I tell people all the time, I spread it out. You had to buy them hours up.
Exactly.
We get hours where it's like, I want to see you. So just spread that 10 days over the year and then give us a few hours. You understand?
That's it. That's all you need. That's all
I'm saying.
Healthy relationships is basically what I'm hearing from you. How do we do all of this is by being healthy overall.
First here, then here.
Yeah. And then, but healthy relationships, let's talk about it. I think that leads to healthy children, right? It leads to progression in the Black community as a whole. And you've already pretty much told us, but let's talk about it again. How do we get there?
Having said everything that we said before, the most fundamental level, and the thing that I tell people is when it's about healthy relationships, I always say every day we choose each other.
Yes.
Now, I say every day because people say, but no, it should be every hour, every whatever. And see, that's where them hours come in, because I might not like him at that moment, but that don't mean I didn't choose him that day.
Woo, teach, girl, teach.
He might not see me,
But see, them hours don't constitute the day, because I'm over here switching and changing and he growing and changing. But every day I look and I say, do I choose to be with him? If the answer is yes, then I am looking not only to the best interest of myself, to like, okay, who do I need to be my highest form of myself, but also how do I add to him? It's the reason why it's so important that personal sovereignty be there, because some of us are willing, to sacrifice everything we are for that other person. And ultimately, that's not healthy. That's not healthy. That's not gonna get you.
Second emotion, see?
Okay, that's not gonna get you what you're aiming for. The personal choice is, okay, wait, I'm choosing to be with him. I'm still saying life is better with him. And I make that decision, and then I go about and start thinking about like the 4 pillars again. Okay, yes, I'm still in this partnership. I'm respecting him. We have an agreement. We have accountability. Now, what that says too is that I can only choose for me. I can't choose for that person. So then I'm focused still, how can I be the best version of myself? And it also takes away, I used to be really hesitant about wanting to do relationship stuff, because I was like, oh Lord, what if one day we up here, I don't know, I just want to make sure we can make it. I don't want to be, the liberty came for me and the freedom came when it came down to his personal choice and mine. The things that we teach, no matter what you ever see in the future, just know that, oh, wait, what happened? Oh, they didn't choose each other. And that's how I look at it. Oh, somebody didn't choose the other person. Somebody decided not to choose them. Somebody decided, well, I don't care if you don't really feel like we ought to be selling a house. I'm selling a house. I don't care if you don't like, this thing, that, or the other. I'm doing this, and there are complicated situations. You have people choosing whether they want to have another baby or not. It's like, well, choosing me, you're choosing. No, these things are complicated. Go ahead. Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
This is a sensitive topic. It's no one shot. But I have to talk from my own personal experience. And that was a broad answer. Where do we start? Where do we start? For me, we have to find out and be very critical of where we're getting our information from. Why? Because as spiritual beings, we're always building, whether you realize it or not. Now, are you building down or are you building up? So where is your perspective and perception at? And so the way I work with the young people in the 3H pre-apprenticeship program and how we work with our couples is that we feel that it starts with the individual first. Where do we start? We base that on 3 principles and how you as an individual are making connections into the world. You make a connection into the world with your head, right? That knowledge place, not just how much you know, but do you know yourself? The lights and your shadows. Do you know yourself mentally, physically, emotionally? Do you know yourself on those 4 planes, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? Number 2, are you making connections into the world with your hands? And we're not just talking about the skills of building, which is so important, but also how do you move forward with that building? Are you passionate and understand the process and the purpose of the things that you're building. So you're actually interacting the head knowledge with the hand knowledge. And this is the last perspective that we throw in there that we feel that is not generally celebrated in Western culture, but is a part of indigenous societies, which is, like we continue to say, is just as innovative and upfront and present today as any other knowledge system. And that's making connections into the world with the heart. So what do we need? You know how to make a connection with yourself. You know how to make connection with skills and what you and your output, right? And you also know how to make connections with others. And you can't make connections with others if you're not spiritually in tune with the environment that's around you. Yeah. So when you get to the heart, this is that place of empathy. This is how you know and understand how to reach out in the world, right? And that's so that you're not getting the process, because you understand how to set up those boundaries. See, and all of these things working together, defining you as a person, and attaching all of these concepts to discover that signature move that you have, you're protecting that. And that's building sovereignty within yourself and in the community at large. And so what does the term Ubuntu mean? I am because we are. So we're all building from a head, hands, heart perspective. And when we come together as a power couple or a community, we're dynamic because we're watching where we're getting our information from.
That's nice. That was nice.
Oh, that was so special. Well, I hate that this show got to come to an end, though. It's time for our challenges period, but it's going to be a part 2, part 3, part 4. I know we ain't done. We just scratching the surface because I just feel like we ain't done, you know? So I want to go over the challenges, and you all really put most of this together. So applaud yourself. 4 principles in a partnership to form a legacy. If you're going to try to form a legacy, there's 4 principles that you need to incorporate. That's partnership, mutual respect, agreement, and accountability. Accountability is my favorite. I love that one. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I think people should be held accountable to the agreements that they make. Me and Mose would always get into it. I'm like, no, because our agreement was, I love to say that. Throw it back up in his face so he can be like, yeah, you're right. But when it come back on me, I don't want to hear it. I'm like, damn, you're right. I did say that. Okay, but I love it. I think is you got to have some type of a plan. It's like a football team don't go on the field without a plan. Basketball team don't go on the court without a plan. You cannot enter a partnership without having a plan. All right, let's talk about the 3 types of couples. Now, it's up to you as a listener. You decide what type of couple you're going to be. You can be all 3. It's up to you. You customize your relationship. You could be an alliance couple. You could be that crown couple, or you can be that classic couple, or you could just combine all 3 at any point in time. I know, as Dr. Doula and Coach Green indicated, that they've been through each stage through the course of their marriage. I know we have as well in our marriage. So you don't feel alarmed if, hey, I've only been through one stage. Stay married. Believe me, you're going to go through those stages. The next one is be critical where you get your information from, as Coach Green said. We just let anybody tell us anything. One thing, stop listening to people who ain't married. That's all I'm going to say. Stop getting advice from your mama who ain't married. Stop getting advice from your uncle who had 8 ex-wives. Don't listen to these people. They don't know what the hell they talking about. Go find you a couple that is successfully married. Now, I know people that's married on convenience. We only marry because, if I get a divorce, you're going to take my pension. We ain't talking about people like that, right? You know what I'm saying? I know some folks like that. So I ain't going to put them on blast, but let's be critical of where we get information from, okay? You know the power couples when you see them, the ones you hate on when you see them. All right, the next one is self-awareness is very, very key. If you don't know who you are, how are you going to have a successful relationship? How are you going to have a healthy relationship? If you don't know who you are, then you're not going to pick the right partner. Therefore, your relationship is doomed before it starts. The next one is reevaluate your ideology on a successful relationship. Sometimes we get it from religion, sometimes we get it from the street. We just get it from different places. Reevaluate it because it might not be right. I think it's time for us to do that. The next one is, if you're having problems in your relationship, you need to get up with Dr. Doula and Coach Green. That's all I'm gonna say. That's the challenges for today. I had to make that one the last one. They need to get up with y'all. They having problems. They need to connect with you all. It's obvious they don't have the right game plan. So those are my challenges.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Oh, this y'all time. Y'all know this is the time when y'all get the floor, where you get to say your last words and where everybody can reach you if there's any projects that you're working on. But make sure you include where people can get in contact with you, because we're hoping that those couples who really need, and they don't necessarily have to, couples, if you're, not to say that you're in travail or you about to go to divorce court, but if you just want to make your relationships better, still reach out to Dr. Doula and Coach Green. So you all go ahead.
I'm gonna go first, particularly because I want everyone to hear my wife, Dr. Doula, last in closing.
Okay,
This is a male-dominated society, and we need the original mother to speak.
Yes.
Yes. Teach.
I'm gonna just leave it like that because I can go in a million different places from there. But you can get in contact with us through all social media platforms, but mainly on our website, webuildlegacy.com.
Okay.
And the thing that we have to offer, like I like to share, and it was brought out so many different times, is that, we do provide the education, we provide the tools, but more importantly, we provide the healing. Healing support, right? Mm-hmm. And so, we're not counselors, but we provide individuals the opportunity on how to not only decompress, but what do they call that computer when you defragment and you just put those things in order and you just need to really set down things. And so we offer
like indigenous realignment, like a realignment.
Yeah. We do. So, through our Reiki profession, through astrology, we use different indigenous tools to assess couples on how to heal from the inside out as individuals and couples. And like you guys were pointing out earlier, is that don't wait, until things are going south and you get to the point of no return. Because we've had couples, specifically of one that was actually signing up to our platform to help and assist them to break up. They say, you know what, we keep going back and forth together. We need you guys to help us to cut it down the center and just break it off. And at the end of the session, right? At the end of the session, because we don't like just meeting one time. We think several sessions are very necessary to readdressing a renewed paradigm, right? They were like, shoot, if we would have got with you guys the first time before we got to this, we broke up so successfully, we might have been able to sustain the relationship. I mean, we ain't in the business of teaching people how to grow apart. We're in the business of teaching people how to do this thing together. You got a powerful man, you got a powerful woman. Let's start doing this thing together.
I also wanted to add to that, we have the Power Couple Quiz, the archetypes that we talked about, the different types of couple, the Lion's Crown and Classic. We have the Power Couple Quiz you can take. So you can go on our website and click that and go through the assessment. Hey, where do I fit in? No judgment. Just look at yourself. Start thinking about this sovereignty. What do you believe? What do you feel? What do you think? All those things. As well as we have the ebook, What's Black Love Got to Do with It? The answer is everything. Black love, everything. Guess what? Black love comes first. Loving your own Black self, okay? So loving your own Black self enough to love your own story, where you come from, and basing your ideals about relationships and family on something broader than what an oppressive society would want to say is the truth. That is a free download on our website.
So feel free to go on there, and when it says WBL, We Build Legacy Freebies, it is one of those and a whole bunch of other stuff too. I want to thank you all for allowing us to be with you all today. And for those that have listened all the way to the end, we just want to offer encouragement to say, listen, relationships are challenges. You know, the relationship with yourself is the first challenge. Getting, you know, some of us don't like ourselves, so yeah, go figure that out. But then even after that, you know, deciding to partner with someone, like my husband said before, it's not a stagnant agreement. It's not a stagnant thing. It is a dynamic thing that you will always be dancing, figuring out who's leaning, who's forward. Sometimes you might like, hey, I need you to take the lead on this. I got you, baby. You know, back to back, we might be fighting right here. There is no, once I get this right, I know I got it. And the world presents it that way. It can be that way. If you are a classic couple and you say the man is going to do this, the woman's going to do this, y'all might have it like it might work for you that way. But we're all growing. And so I just encourage you to be open to the adventure. Stop. If I have one piece of advice, I would say this, you know, stop denying what you sense on the inside of yourself. Before you get into this relationship, before you make this commitment, listen to your own sovereign soul. What do you hear? Some of us spend so much time denying what we know to be true. And it's like, did you have any that he was married with to two women and whatever? He's like, no, he just told me he went on, you know, start listening to yourself, honor yourself. And if you say, well, I don't really know the difference, then here's a tip. Before you go getting into a relationship, spend some time with yourself first. Okay, that's what I would leave. I really hope we get to hear from some of you all. Oh yeah, and if you're on Clubhouse, and now it's open to Android and Apple users and all that stuff, iPhone stuff. We are there. We are the Power Couple Network, and we're there on Saturdays at 5 p.m. We would love for you to stop by and chat with us. Okay. So yeah, and thank you, ladies, for the opportunity to be on today.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. This is awesome. And yes, you're not counselor, you're strategist.
Yes.
So, all right. So get with these relationship strategists, love strategists.
That's right.
And thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us. And we'll see you next episode.
All right.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Conversations with the Royal Empress. Tune in next week for another enlightening conversation. For more information on the Royal Empress, please visit the website royalempress.org. You can also follow the Royal Empress on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Conversations with the Royal Empress is a subsidiary of the Royal Empress organization. All rights reserved.